Very good morning to all my dear students. We are on to the industrial pharmacy. In industrial pharmacy, we are studying the pre-formulation. And while studying the pre-formulation, these are the details that already we had covered. We had covered the what pre-formulation is, what is its definition, what is its significance, what is its importance. There we have started the various kinds of physical properties in which we have studied the crystal property, we had studied the amorphous property, we had studied the solubility, we had studied the particle size, and we are onto the interrelationship between the different physical properties like say the pH, pKa, and dissociation constant. So the details related with all these which are highlighted in the green that are there onto the screen. And today we will see the relationship between pH and pKa. What is the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation? What is the relation between pH, pKa and solubility? How to determine the pKa and what is the importance of the pKa? If time permits, we will move to the next property that is said to be the partition coefficient and the particle flow properties. So that will depend on the time available. So if you want to see the relationship of the pH and pKa that is applicable to the acids and the bases, if we consider Ha is acid, so it will get dissociated into the hydrogen ion and A negative ion. If it is the base NaOH, it will get dissociated into sodium ion and the hydroxyl ions. So how strong an acid is determined by the acid dissociation constant. Smaller the acid base dissociation constant, weaker the acid or a base. So there is a relationship between the dissociation constant. There is a direct relationship. If the dissociation constant is smaller one, the nature of particular acid or base that is said to be the weaker one. So this is for the weak acids dissociation constant, that is the Ka is equal to H plus A minus divided by acid concentration. Now bigger the Ka, stronger the acid. Yes, it is in the direct relationship. If it is weaker, the acid is weaker. If it is bigger, the acid is stronger one. Same is the case associated with that of the weak base. So Kb, that is the dissociation constant for the base, and Ka, that is the dissociation constant for the acid. So Kb is equal to Na plus multiplied by hydroxyl ion divided by the unionized form of the base. So that is the relationship between the pH and the pKa. How the relationship is? If the dissociation constant is less, if the dissociation constant is smaller one, the base or acid is weaker one. If the dissociation constant is stronger one, then the acid or base is the stronger one. Now, what is the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation? So, the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation that will define the ratio of two species. Now, what are these two species? These are the unionized form and the ionized form. And our interest that is in case of the unionized form because that is permeable through the biological membrane. So we know that pKa is equal to minus log Ka and pH is equal to minus log H plus ions. So same is the case for the weak acids. if pH is equal to pKa plus log of A negative ion divided by acid, that is the weak acid. In the same way, we can obtain the equation for the weak bases, that is pH is equal to pKa plus log base divided by the acid. This is the equation 2. Now, what are the uses of the HH, that is the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation? It is useful to determine the pKa, which changes in solubility. It is useful to predict the solubility at pH. It is useful to select the suitable salt and its properties like pH and solubility. So as we had the equation for the weak acid, that is the pH is equal to pKa plus log A minus divided by HA. So the same is the equation here. Now in the equation, when an acid is exactly half ionized one, that is A negative ion, so that is equal to HA, then pK is equal to pH, that is the pH is equal to pKa. So for acids, a pH below the pKa enhances absorption. So what is important for us? The relationship between the pH and the pKa. So if it is the acid, if the nature of the API is acidic one, for acid, a pH below the pKa, that will enhances the absorption. In order to get the absorption better, we need to have the pH value less than that of the pKa value if it is the acid. While for the bases, if it is a base, a pH above the pKa, that will enhances the absorption. Our interest is in case of enhancing the absorption, whether it may be acid, whether it may be base. In order to get the absorption better, we need to have the pH value low for the acids. In order to get absorption better, we need to maintain the pH values higher in case of the base than that of the pKa. That is the dissociation constant. So again, it might be somewhat difficult to understand the relationship, but if you will just go through all these, you will going to come to know. If you will keep in your mind, if you will understand one very easily, you can understand the another one. Simply you have to see what is the difference. Most of the time, at most of the places, the cases, the conditions are vice versa. One is if for acid, another is if for base. If in case of acid it is increases, in case of bases it is decreases. So just go through this, you will going to come to know. At this moment, first time, it might be somewhat uh, difficult for you to understand, but if you will maintain some tricks, if you will apply some trick, it will be very easy. So that is the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. Now we will see the relationship between the pH, pKa and the solubility. pH, pKa and the solubility. So that is the interrelationship between these three. So relating the pH, pKa and solubility, the relationship between pH and the solubility and pKa value of an acidic drug is given by modified Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. So the equation is modified one. What is the modified equation? pH is equal to pKa plus log into bracket S minus S0. So that is the solubility, intrinsic solubility divided by S0. That is the intrinsic solubility. So this is the equation that is applicable for the weak acids. So you can see here there is a pH, here there is a dissociation constant, and here there is a solubility. So this is the relationship between the pH, pKa and the solubility, which will be given by the modified Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. So here the S, that is the overall solubility, and S0, that is the intrinsic solubility, that is the solubility of the unionized form, intrinsic solubility. So S is equal to S0 plus Si. The equation provides the minimum pH that must be maintained to avoid precipitation of weak acids. In the same way, for weak bases, you are going to obtain pH is equal to pKa plus log S0 divided by into bracket S minus S0. You just have a look over onto the two equations. For weak acid, what it is, pH is equal to pKa. For weak bases, it is pH is equal to pKa. For weak acid, log of. For weak bases, log of. For weak acid, it is the difference. It is the difference in the solubility of overall solubility and the intrinsic solubility at the numerator, whereas in case of weak bases, the difference is in the denominator. And intrinsic solubility, that is in the numerator for weak acid, weak bases, but for weak acids, it is in the denominator. So there is a clear-cut difference and very easy to understand. So this is only the difference between the modified Henderson-Hasselbalch equation for the weak acids and weak bases when we want to express the relationship between the pH, pKa and the solubility. Just remember any one either for weak acid or weak bases. Based on that, you can apply the trick to remember the equation for the another one. So how to determine the pKa? Now pKa value that may be determined by various methods. So that is the potentiometric titration method, UV spectroscopy method, solubility measurement, HPLC technique, capillary zone electrophoresis, and the foaming activity. There are n number of techniques. Now what is the importance of the pKa? The pKa value provides valuable data on the interaction of an unionizable drug on whether the drug may be absorbed in the GIT, to know how much to alter the pH to drive a compound to its fully ionized or non-ionized form for analytical and other purposes, such as formulation, solubility, and stability. So here particularly the details associated with the solubility, the details associated with the pH, the details associated with the pKa, and the interrelationship between the pH pKa and solubility. So in last lecture and this particular lecture we had covered all these details. Now let's move to the next topic, the next physical property. As I already told you, what it is? Yes, what it is? It is the partition coefficient and flow property. Right, very correct. Now, in order to understand these, we should have certain learning outcomes, that is the expectations from the student after studying those points. So the concept and importance of the partition coefficient that we will going to study, the characterization of the partition coefficient, importance of flow properties in formulation. We have to study the bulk density, Kar's index, Hausner's ratio, and the flow properties. Then we have to see that how we can go for determining the bulk density and the concept associated with the angle of repose. What is the importance of the angle of repose? The lesson plan that will move like concept, importance, characterization, need to study the flow properties, the bulk density, Kar's index, Hausner's ratio, the method of determination, and angle of repose, its importance, and how to determine the angle of repose. So the content related with the partition coefficient and angle of repose are the distribution or the partition coefficient. Partition coefficient, that is also called as the distribution coefficient. Then what is the log P, that is the partition coefficient, how it is to be obtained, how the partition coefficient that is determined. There are various methods. The very common method, that is the shake flask method. Then what are the different solvents that are used to partition the drug, selection of the partitioning agent, the partitioning solvent. Then we have to see the pre-formulation and the relationship between the flow property, the different kinds of the bulk density, angle of repose, importance of flow properties in pharmaceutical industries, the powder flow properties, and the angle of repose. So these are the contents that we have to study in the coming subsequent slides. Now, what is the distribution coefficient or the partition coefficient? So, partition, that is nothing but the distribution, the partial distribution, the intrinsic property of atom or the functional group. It is the intrinsic property. It is the fundamental property of any drug substance. And you just see that here there is a property which is said to be the lipophilicity, pKa, and the aqueous solubility. So the partition coefficient, that is nothing but the property which will fall in this particular triangle. That means how much amount of drug that is evenly distributed among all these. And the distribution of drug from aqueous phase to lipid phase, that is said to be the partition coefficient. What it is? It is the distribution. Distribution of what? It is the distribution of drug. Where it is? It is in the aqueous phase. Which is the aqueous phase in case of our body? It is the GI fluid. And what is the non-aqueous phase? What is the lipid phase? It is the biomembrane. So how the drug that will get distributed in these two, that is the aqueous phase and the lipid phase. Partition coefficient, it is represented as the log P. So the log P that can be defined as the ratio. What is the partition coefficient? It is the ratio of concentration of unionized compound at equilibrium between organic and aqueous phase. Our interest is in unionized form. At what stage? At equilibrium stage. That means when its distribution in case of aqueous as well as organic phase, that is equal between the organic and the aqueous phase. So if we want to represent it in case of mathematical way, we can represent it as log P is equal to unionized API in case of organic solvent divided by unionized API in case of aqueous phase. ORG, that will refers to the organic phase. AQ, that will refers to that of the aqueous phase. So being a logarithmic scale, if API has, now when I said that it is the log P, will we get certain log P value, and based on that we can draw a conclusion, we can draw an inference that what does it mean. Now when the log P value it is 0, what is the meaning of that? It means that API is equally soluble in water and in the partitioning solvent. That means there is an even distribution in case of the organic phase as well as in case of the aqueous phase, when we will be getting the log P value that is 0. Now when the log P value it is 5, it means what, or what it will indicate? It will indicate that API is 100,000 times. What it is? It is the 100,000 times. That means it is 1 lakh time more soluble in the partitioning solvent. And if the value is in the minus way, and if it is -2, it means that the API is 100 times more soluble in water. That is, it is the quite hydrophilic one. If the value is 5, it is 1 lakh time more soluble in partitioning solvent, that is the organic solvent. That means the drug is having the lipophilic property, or the drug that is having hydrophobic properties. And if the value that is 0, that means there is an even distribution. The drug that is hydrophilic as well as hydrophobic in even term, in equal term. So determining the partition coefficient, the different method, as I said, that the most common that we are using at our lab scale is the shake flask method. So this is the lab method, and this could be used for the basic research purpose, and it is the most common method. How the partition coefficient that can be determined? It can be determined with the help of a shake flask method. How it is to be carried out? The API is dissolved in one phase and then shaken well for 30 minutes with octanol in a separating funnel. So octanol, that is the organic phase, that is the partitioning solvent. What we need to do? We need to take the drug, that is the API, we need to dissolve it in organic phase, that is the octanol, and we have to shake it for the 30 minutes. And this has to be carried out in case of the separating funnel. You can see here, this is the separating funnel. It is tapering at its end at the bottom. There is a knob, and this knob can be rotated in order to take out the content and to separate the two different phases, and then to analyze the partitioned drug in between to these phases. So the drug had been added and it is going to be partitioned into one phase. Then we need to add the another phase so that the drug that will get distributed into the another phase. The API is allowed to distribute itself between octanol and the water. So the earlier one, that is the octanol, and now we are going to be adding another phase. It is the aqueous phase, which is said to be the water. So you can see here there is only one phase, which is said to be the organic phase. Here we had, sorry, here this is the water phase. Here we had added the another phase, that is the organic phase. Now the drug that will tries to move and it will get partitioned, it will get dissolved, it will get distributed into the organic phase also. So water layer is runoff, water that should be taken out and centrifuge for 60 minutes at 2000 rpm, and then a liquor is taken and analyzed by using the UV absorption or HPLC or titration. So the content we have to take out, we have to subject it to the process of centrifugation and then it has to be analyzed. So what are the phases or how the shake flask method that is to be carried out? We need to take the drug, we need to dissolve it into the first organic solvent, then for 30 minutes, then we need to add the aqueous, then we have to keep it for 5 minutes, then we have to take out the aqueous phase, we have to subject it to that of the centrifugation at 2000 rpm for 1 hour, that is for the 60 minutes, and then a liquor that is taken out and it is to be analyzed with the help of use of the analytical method. So you can see the UV absorption of an aqueous solution that is measured at sigma, that is the concentration, sigma summation of the concentration, and after CW being shaken with a known volume of octanol. So you can see the partition coefficient that can be obtained by this difference and they divided by the CW. So where the partition coefficient is high, it is the practice to increase the water phase from 1:1 to 1:4 to 1:9. What does it mean? It means that where the partition coefficient is high, that means if the drug that is less soluble in case of the aqueous phase, then in that case we need to increase. It is the practice to increase the water phase. First, we need to take the equal proportion of organic and aqueous. Then we need to go on increasing the concentration or the aqueous phase, and further we need to go on increasing the aqueous phase. So here organic 1 part, aqueous 1 part, here organic 1 part, aqueous 4 part, here organic 1 part, aqueous 9 part. So that aqueous concentration that may be increased to a measurable level. So CW, that is the aqueous concentration, as you will find in this particular equation. It is the aqueous concentration. So partition coefficient, the shake flask, it is the oldest method and most tedious way of measuring the log P value. It is the only method that can be used in cases of very low log P values. Now, what are the partitioning solvent? It is not possible to determine log P in a realistic biological membrane, biological medium in vivo system. So what the environment is there inside of our body, the same that we cannot go for getting as such outside. So for that we need to show, we need to give the simulating, we need to give the mimicking environment. So that mimicking environment that can be given by selecting the partitioning solvent. So generally most of the time the octanol, that is the partitioning solvent. So octanol water, that is the system, that is the answer to this. But every time we cannot go for the octanol. Based on the properties of the drug, one may go for selection of a particular partitioning solvent. The partitioning of solute may differ on the basis of organic solvents selected for the study. Now here you can see that the partitioning solvent, the solvent is said to be the hypodiscriminating solvent. It is the hypodiscriminating solvent. When we can call a solvent as a hypodiscriminating, when the polar nature is more than that of the octanol. And if the polar properties or the polar nature that is less than that of the octanol, such solvents are said to be the hyper discriminating solvent. So with reference to that of the octanol, we have to determine, we have to classify hypodiscriminating and the hyper-discriminating solvent. Examples of the hypodiscriminating solvent are the butanol, pentanol, reflect more the lipophilicity for the buccal region. Examples of the hyperdiscriminating solvent, it is the allyl alcohol, nitrobenzene, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, cyclohexane. So that will reflect more the lipophilicity of the blood-brain barrier. So for buccal region, it is the hypodiscriminating, example butanol, pentanol. For BBB, that is the blood-brain barrier, hyperdiscriminating, nitrobenzene, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, cyclohexane, allyl alcohol. These are the examples. So this is the graphical representation and the relationship. You can see onto the x-axis there is a lipophilicity, and onto the y-axis there is a water solubility, that is the log value. Now here if we see the octanol and whatever the values that are more than that of the octanol toward the positive side and the toward the negative side. If it is onto the positive side, it is said to be the polar. If it is onto the negative side, it is said to be the less polar. Here it is more polar, here it is less polar. So that will going to be dividing hypodiscriminating and the hyperdiscriminating. And here you can see that the log P value for N-butanol, N-pentanol, octanol, ether, these are having the high log P values onto the y-axis. And for buccal region, we can see we are using the N-butanol, N-butanol. For gastrointestinal region, we are using the ethyl acetate ether. And for blood-brain barrier, there is a heptane, cyclohexane, carbon tetrachloride, toluene, as already we saw in the previous slide. Now again recall the three important words, that is the SES, says what it is. It is the stability, it is the effectiveness, it is the safety. So the product that should be safe, that should be effective, that should be stable one. So as we saw, all these are applicable to that of the crystalline properties, polymorphism, solubility, pH, pKa. Same is the case, it is applicable to that of the partitioning solvent also, in order to get the stability, effectiveness and safety in case of the formulation. So what we saw in this slide till now, we saw the distribution or the partition coefficient. What is the log P? How to determine the partition coefficient? What is the shake flask method? What are the different partitioning solvents? How to go for selection of a partitioning solvent? Now the next physical property that is said to be the flow property. Now again, in order to understand the flow property, we have to move to our favorite place. What it is? It is the kitchen, right? You can see the clear-cut difference. There is a free flow and there is a poor flow, right? How you can understand here there is a free flow, here there is a poor flow? It is the way by which it will fall. It is the continuously falling. It is the somewhat the flow is disturbed one, and you can see the hip, right? So that will produces hindrance, that will produces obstruction to that of the flow. Most of the time you might have seen the advertisement onto the television, right, related with the Captain Cook, right? I don't want to count any brand, but particularly they are going to be taking the advantage of these properties. They are making their USP, unique selling point for their product. That is the Captain Cook, free flying, right? You might be getting me. So pre-formulation and the foam properties, we have to understand what is the bulk density angle of repose. Before that, we will go for the importance of flow properties in case of pharmaceutical industries. Now, why it is important to have the flow properties? It is important for easy handling in case of processing and storage. If the product is free flowing, it will make the handling easy. It will ensure the good mixing during the process of blending, during the process of mixing. If the particles, these are free flowing, they will ensure the good mixing. They will ensure the content uniformity. They will ensure the particle size uniformity and the stability. And it will increases in crystal size and more uniform size that will lead to the small angle of repose and small Cars index. Now, there is a great significance of these two, that is the angle of repose and the Cars index. If these values are less, these values are low, that means there is a good flow property. So powder flow property, that was first pore density and the tap densities, these are calculated and these are compared. So this particular concept was given by the Cars in 1965, and based on this he gave the index. That index is said to be the Cars index. So what is the Cars index? Cars index, it is nothing but the percentage. Percentage of what? It is the percentage of difference of tap density and pore density divided by the tap density. So this is the formula. Cars index, it is represented in terms of percentage equal to tap density minus pore density divided by the tap density multiplied by 100. Most of the time, instead of pore density, you may get it as a bulk density. The meaning is same, whether it may be pore density or the bulk density. The pore density, that is the density which is obtained, that is the mass upon volume without subjecting it to that of the tapping. Whereas tap density, it is the value, that is the mass upon volume, which will be obtained after tapping the API, after tapping the powder material into the measuring cylinder, and to see that how much amount of volume reduction that will occur. So in order to determine and to represent the powder flow property, there is another determinant which is said to be the Hausner's ratio. Now, Hausner's ratio, as the name itself, it will indicate that what it is the ratio. So when it is the ratio, that means there must be something into the numerator, some should be into the denominator. So in case of numerator, it is the tap density. In case of denominator, it is the pore density multiplied by 100. Again, it is the percentage. It is the ratio of tap density to that of the pore density, or it is the ratio of tap density to that of the bulk density, right? So this is what is said to be the Hausner ratio.